I bet we're all wondering, where did it all begin? How did it all start? Oh, the who, what, when, where, and why. Admit it. We had it coming. According to Harry, he claims it was a virus outbreak that began in North Yorkshire after a man viciously murdered his family. Following the event, 2 policemen that apprehended the man began acting strange, violently attacking people before the whole population ended up mysteriously disappearing. It wasn't until later, before they found every man, woman, and child of North Yorkshire walking off of a cliff in what looked like a mass suicide, that was before the infected started to show the red rashes and turn on the remaining population. But there's no way that's correct. How it all started there, seeing how the whole world was infected in a matter of a few days. Some believe it was a few hours. Either way, nobody stood a chance. But if you really want to cut the bullshit, I think this all started long before the outbreak. Confess. Some of you enjoy this horror show. Some of you have an inner shame and feeling that small sense of joy when seeing other people suffer, and how you despise others who are not afraid to be more open with them inner thoughts. Is that why we are too afraid to look deep into our human origins? How we silly humans keep making the same stupid mistakes when not learning from our past? Are people too afraid to see the similarities between ourselves and the cross? That the only difference is that they're not holding back what we've been wanting to do for so long? Is it not true that we humans have an ancient appetite for bloodshed and murder? How we humans have used our creative ways to explore new methods of torture, that there was a time when man enjoyed exploring the pain and suffering being inflicted upon others? How we humans had once raped and destroyed each other for the sheer joy of it, to achieve that grand sense of sadistic happiness. Oh yeah, life was hell. And it still is. But somewhere down the road, we started to pretend that hell was nothing more but a silly fable in the afterlife, and how we created God and Satan to take credit for our sadistic ways, how we are now a human race that go about our miserable lives trying to convince ourselves that we are not in hell, and yearning for a taste of sadism and pain. You know, my friends, there are 2 types of people in this world, and 2 types of people watching this horror show. Those who enjoy what they see, and those who are repulsed by their inner feelings when watching the horror show. Yes, you may stand before the world against this filth and violent garbage, trying to explain the concept of good and evil, until one day, God gets tired of your bullshit, and you end up with a red rash on your face, where good and evil no longer exists, only the experience of absolute freedom. And why wouldn't God do that? Is it not true that he had once taken credit for the pain and suffering upon others, that God may have enjoyed the taste of bloodshed we've given on behalf of his name, and is now upset that we have changed our ways? And we humans, self-proclaimed crusaders that only dream of those sadistic horrors when damning others. A heaven where humans dream of other humans being tortured and damned. Sorry, friends. God is laughing. Satan is crying. I guess we'll never know if it's true, if Harry was actually the Prince Harry or not. They came out of nowhere when they grabbed him. Sure, he may have taken down a few with that rifle of his, but they got him. And as you can see, they got Harry pretty good. Shouldn't surprise you that Harry died. As I said, this is no fucking Walking Dead. In this world, everyone dies. Now with the cross 3 miles behind, I guess Ian and the others can afford a little good news when seeing how the numbers are down to 24. You can see how the temperature is taking a toll on the cross, most of them staggering and burning out. Even though Harry had given some time, it still doesn't mean that their situation has improved. Realistically, the cross will catch up to them. According to Ian, with their numbers staggering and half of them already weakened and dying off, if they can just find a way to grab Harry's rifle, and with the munitions they already have, take out the fast ones first, there's a good chance they'll survive through this. The plan is simple. Wait until the cross sees them, and the moment they start running towards them, that's when they can divide the cross by splitting into 2 groups, each group running in an arc as they make their way back to Harry. Hopefully, by doing this, they can tire them out, if they're lucky. Either way, whoever reaches Harry's rifle first can start dropping out the fast ones, and that's where they can take care of the rest. Even though Harry did say that fighting against the cross was a bad idea, that was when there was more of them in better condition. They are now weak, and there is a strong chance to take them out right now instead of having to take the risks and outrunning them. With Mark and the group still shaken by Ian's democracy stunt of leaving Anya behind, and the idea of fighting them being too risky. So far Ian's idea was the only plan they have. Either that, or they can just keep moving forward until the end, hope by some miracle that they don't get the drop on them like they did with Harry. And I think we already know how miracles work in a world like this. Being the one making difficult choices as a leader, I think Ian began feeling the full gravity of his situation when John decided to take Rob and Alec with him. Knowing that those two are the slowest ones in the group, armed with nothing but a shotgun and 2 grenades. If Ian could, he would have given John the 3rd hand grenade. But he didn't. He just couldn't bring himself into giving John that 3rd grenade. I think John may have seen enough bullshit in his days, enough to figure Ian out. That we may know what will happen if Rob and Alec went with Ian. Kinda makes you wonder if things could have been different for Pat, Anya, Harry, especially after Ian sharing his thoughts of Alec and Rob not surviving through this with John. Where one begins to think, if it's their fearless leader who's the true danger of the group, that in a world turned red is an excuse for everyone else being expendable. Survival of the fittest. Even though it seemed like the plan worked when the cross divided into 2 groups, unfortunately they left too late. The cross were catching up, 4 of them sprinting, leaving Ian and Ricky no choice but to take out the fast ones as Mark kept on running. 2 double-barreled shotguns. Buckshot. Each shot must count, which is why they must pick their shots when they're close enough. Ian, now frozen with terror. He didn't plan for this. A scenario of having to stand his ground against the cross. Now with Ricky being the one leading, first 2 shots were a success in dropping down the first 2 crossed. Good. Now comes the 2nd barrel. Not until the other 2 are close enough, but fear had gotten the better of Ian, causing a premature shot that only grazed the shoulder. Thankfully, Ricky's 2nd shot had only taken down the 3rd one, but managed to knock down the other one that Ian was supposed to kill, giving Ian enough time to reload his shotgun and take down the 4th one, while Ian just stood there, terrified and exposed. Moments away from death, it took Ian a moment to recollect himself. Mark was already gone, but before taking off, that was when Ricky and Ian would notice a familiar face running towards them. It couldn't be, but it was. Fucking Pat. How in God's name did he not change? He should not be running. And the moment when Ricky learned the grisly answer to that question, that was when the ground beneath Ricky gave way, causing him to fall to the bottom of the cliff, trapped and forced to fend off the cross. Realizing that Ricky wasn't going to make it, immediately Ian ran off with the sounds of shots coming from Ricky, also the sounds of 2 explosions from the distance. John must have ran into trouble much sooner than they expected. Hopefully Ricky was smart enough to do himself in. Already the plan is turning to shit. Doubtful if John, Alec, and Rob are still alive. Just Ian and Mark. But I guess that means nothing to Ian, doesn't it? Mark. Just another gun to save his own ass. By now, I think we're seeing Ian revealing his true colors with these difficult choices. A gutless coward who's willing to do whatever it takes to save his own ass with this bullshit facade. A man who latches onto any group that can keep him alive without having to worry about anyone else slowing him down. Just a selfish asshole who thinks that this fucked up world is an excuse for his cowardly ways. Finally reaching Harry's body, Harry's rifle must be about 20 yards away from him. But where? Much like John, Mark had already seen through Ian's bullshit since his democracy stunt. It's clear now that this selfish fucker is out to save himself. No different than the Cross that are coming straight towards them. Even if they survive through this, there's no way Mark will be moving forward with Ian, trying to get a count of how many Crossed are left. That was when Mark noticed something. One of the Crossed was carrying something on his back. It was Anya. They dug up Anya's body. Why did they dig her up? Nothing but grief and rage within Mark when seeing Anya's corpse being carried. The sick bastards had to go and dig her up. And Mark, having no care for Ian's pleas, nor his plans for Harry's rifle, nothing but intense rage to take on the Cross. And Ian. All this is because of him. They wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for him. It was all him who wanted to leave Pat with those sick fucks. Him who wanted to leave Anya. And now he probably wanted to leave Alec and Rob. And Ricky would still be alive if Ian wasn't such a fucking coward. It's clear that the only thing Ian wants is that goddamn rifle. Mark nearly killing Ian with the shotgun. Ian lost. He did not kill Anya. He agreed to stay. But I think we all know that's bullshit. Whether he killed Anya or not, doesn't matter. Ian is full of shit. And he's dangerous. And Ian left with no choice but to leave Mark behind. With one more shot in Mark's double barrel, not enough time to reload before being grabbed. Just Ian left with the hopes that Mark was smart enough to use that final shot on himself. They're coming to get you, Ian. Everyone is now gone. Just Ian, panicking and all alone. And frantically looking around Harry's corpse for that rifle he's been wanting. It didn't take that long before Ian found it. And now is the time where Ian stands his ground. Just remember what Harry said. Hold it right. Aim properly. Control your breathing. Don't jerk the trigger. The bullets are small. They're designed to kill with shock. But you still need to let your target to come in close and make sure you're aiming for the head or the center chest. Ian is a coward, but somewhere in there is a killer. Make sure you keep the selector on single shot. If you're close enough for full auto, then that's when you're fucked. And count. You must make sure you count each shot. The last thing you want to hear is a dead man's click. The terror within Ian when realizing he'd forgotten how many rounds Harry shot before they got him. Stupid, Ian. So fucking stupid. Remembering Harry mentioning that he had another magazine. Does that mean 15 shots? 20? 10? Not enough time to look for it. The Crossed are coming. And Ian can't afford having them getting close. The only thing Ian has is hope. Hope that every shot counts. And that there's enough rounds to kill these sick fucks. And one after the other, Ian began dropping off the Crossed. The fear washing away with the adrenaline. A sadistic joy of watching them die. Ian had surprised himself when seeing them fall. Every round being a kill shot. And the last one closing in. Too stupid to use that shotgun he's carrying. For a split second, Ian couldn't believe what was happening when blowing off the head of the final Crossed. It was a miracle. He made it. Until the sound of a shotgun going off and the blood splashing across Ian's face, coming from Harry's head being blown off. Harry's corpse, which was next to Ian, his infected corpse. Stupid. So fucking stupid, Ian. I guess it is true that the moment when somebody starts thinking of the word hope, then that's when they're truly fucked. Oh, the burning poison surging through Ian, the immense pain throbbing behind his eyes, working its way to his brain. And now comes the third grenade. Ian getting to see Penny once again, Would you like to know something about Ian? Oh yes, he loved Penny. He idolized her. And how she hated him with cold black passion. The day when she found out that he betrayed her. Ian, our selfish asshole. The coward who can't bring himself to pull that pin. But why would he want to do such a thing? We've already seen through Ian's bullshit. We've seen him for what he truly is. In a world where there is no need for bullshit. No need to hide from what we truly are. Ian is a killer. Did you not witness the sadistic joy of him killing off the cross? Wonder what he must have felt when watching his boot going into the face of that infected woman? In case you've forgotten, I'll remind you. We are in hell. And in hell, Ian is no different. In a world that no longer judges you. And Ian feeling the hand on his shoulder. I guess I was wrong about everyone dying. Behind Ian, their leader, was Pat, that useless prick. Mark and Anya, Rob and Alec, Ricky, John, and of course Harry's rifle. The whole gang's here. I don't think anyone gave a shit about Harry. Who gives a fuck if he's Prince Harry or not? At least Ian has that cool rifle. It's okay, Ian. Nobody will judge you. There's no need to pretend in the world that's turned red.
All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their minds wake in the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This